The young, nonchalant and shadow user Shu, in order to prevent his village from being attacked, embarked on a journey with his new teammates Jiro, Zula, and his childhood friend Kluke to defeat the Gran Kingdom and their master Nene. They face formidable enemies as they proceed on their journey while also training to become stronger and have more control over their shadows. Along the way, they befriend Marumaro, a pervert yet kind person, after helping him save the village, but to take a break from continuous fighting, they rest in the town. There, they encounter Bouqet, a female shadow user. Despite being beautiful, she appears clumsy and annoys the gang so much that they avoid her. But with no place to call home, Bouqet decides to follow them. At Nene's castle, General Logi is summoned. Sabo, a robot, explains to Logi the auto-remodeling project that the Gran Kingdom is working on. Nene commands him to test the project and lead the first troop of shadow users, and gives him orders to get rid of the gang as soon as possible before they become a threat. On his ship, Logi recalls his last battle with the gang, and suddenly he sees that General Dragonov's troops are also being sent to the front lines. The gang reaches Citadel City in Djibril, and Legolas shows them around. The police stop them and take away Legolas, as he appears to be dead in its records. The gang is informed to be careful as strange supernatural and ghostly stuff is happening in the town lately. With Legolas in jail and no one to take them to the king, they decide to solve the mystery that is going around the city in order to get some fame and hopefully get a chance to meet the king. They look around the town and ask its citizens for information. Apparently, in all the strange activity areas, a mysterious shadow of a woman dressed in an old-fashioned way was seen. Zula tells them that they should investigate at night. Zola, Jiro, and Kluke get on one team, and Shu and Marumaro form another team. They begin their hunt, and that is when the latter team spots a ghostly shadow of a woman. The city soldiers also arrive and Maro ends up following the shadow. However, when they reach a dead end, the soldiers with Shu and Maro get trapped within a cage. Though they quickly bust out and come across Salinas, a Gran Kingdom spy, it is revealed that the Lady Ghost was actually his shadow, Chotandor. Shu and Maro summon Blue Dragon and Saber Tiger to fight him. Zola and the others also arrive at the scene and Salinas gets distracted. Shu uses this opportunity and with Blue Dragon's punch, Salinas is defeated and captured. Due to their heroic deeds, they help in setting Legolas free and all of them enter the room of the king. The gang appears before the king and he shows his gratitude for solving the mystery in the city. He then grants each of them a wish. Zula speaks first and requests to read the Book of the Beginning, the world's oldest book stored in the country's royal library. The king grants her wish and asks Conrad, his right-hand man, to get the book. The king also puts Conrad in charge to fulfilling their wishes. Zula also warns the king about the Gran Kingdom and their invasion, but the king tells her that he chooses to ignore the situation for now. The governors ask Legolas for his report, and he shows them a signed agreement that confirms the alliance between Djibril and other nations. Conrad takes the guests away, and Shu gets to know from Jiro that Conrad is a knight master. Hearing this, Shu's respect for him increases. Meanwhile, General Dragonov's Gran Kingdom troops are sailing towards Djibril in order to breach it. Meanwhile, Salinas is going through interrogation, yet refuses to open his mouth. Shu finally gets the chance to talk with Conrad, and he advises him to stay pure and true to his heart, no matter what he wants to do in life, because as the heart grows bigger, it has the power to create miracles. Bouqet finally reaches the Djibril Kingdom, and Dragonov starts firing from his ship. The Djibril troops at the bay dispatch the Beast Squad, but they are neutralized by the Gran Kingdom's artificial shadow users. The enemy manages to succeed in breaching the bay's 200-year-old steel wall. Meanwhile, Salinas breaks free and attempts to steal a book from the library. The gang summons their shadows and aids Conrad in the battle, succeeding in driving the Gran troops away. On the other hand, the escaped Salinas hands over some rolled pages to a mysterious white-haired lady outside the castle. After acquiring the pages, she knocks Salinas down with a grim smile. Following the assault and withdrawal of Gran troops from the battlefield, the king invites the gang to join the clandestine attack on the Gran Kingdom. However, Zola declines the offer, and they are merely travelers and not soldiers. Following this, Zola again asks to see the Book of the Beginning, but Conrad gives her unfavorable news. He takes them to the book, and the gang finds out that the last 7 pages of the book, known as the Extra 7, were torn away from the book. They deduce that Salinas must have done the theft, as she was also found dead outside the castle. The 7 pages were only present in the original book and not in any other copy. The gang then gets on a ship to move forward, and Legolas decides to stay because of the new mission. On the ship, the gang meets 3 sailors who try to scare them with ghost stories. A few moments later, Bouqet appears from behind a barrel and hugs Shu, pressing his face against her chest. Kluke tells her to stop it, as Shu does not like that. However, Shu's obvious enjoyment of every moment gives Bouqet the impression that Kluke is jealous. Zola arrives and gives the decision of letting her stay or not to Shu. However, poor Shu is pressed from both sides, as Jiro and Kluke want her thrown off. Suddenly, a fog starts appearing around and on the ship. and most people aboard pass out. Maro and Jiro go into a dizzy state and start fighting each other. Shu summons Blue Dragon, but they both get dizzy. Bouqet smacks him back to reality and summons Hippopotamus. She transforms into a giant hand fan, and Blue Dragon blows away the mist with it. When the mist is cleared, it is seen that a cute little sea lion is the one who caused it. Blue Dragon, however, not deceived by its cuteness, punches it away. With everyone saved by Bouqet this time, they allow her to travel with them. The gang on the ship is about to reach the Gran Kingdom, where there is continuous lightning and thunder. After his expedition, General Logi decides to return to his home base. The gang temporarily stays in a town before proceeding towards Gran Kingdom. Zola and Jiro inform the others of their plan, stating that their current goal is to reach Za City in the Gran Kingdom, where Nene resides. But infiltrating it will be extremely difficult, as many artificial shadow machines that use Ghost Shadow will be present there. Therefore, they chose a route through a canyon where there is no security. They reach the canyon and advance with the help of their shadows. However, they are cut short immediately by General Logi and two of his independent flying squadron members, Cynthia and Gilliam. Zola tells everyone to regroup at the gathering point while she distracts the enemy. Zola gets occupied by Logi as the other members escape. Cynthia and her shadow, Yarovit, fight with Jiro and his shadow, Minotaur. Gilliam finds Shu, Maro, and Kluke. The third member of Logi's squadron, Antropov, observes all the gang members with his shadow ability. Gilliam's shadow, Euphoria, creates a strong gust, and Shu gets blown away, leaving Maro and Gilliam to fight each other. Lemaire, another member of Logi's squadron, is sent to take care of Zola. Zola reunites with Shu, but commands Shu to go away when Lemaire arrives. The fifth member, Schneider, keeps an eye on Bouqet. Lemaire summons his shadow, Ducarian, and fights with Zola. Shu is encountered by Antropov and his shadow, Arubuhim. Shu summons the Blue Dragon, and suddenly General Logi arrives in front of Shu. Each gang member now faces an enemy. Zola fights Lemaire in a one-on-one fight, and Logi arrives at Shu's location to see the infamous Blue Dragon. Shu challenges Logi to a shadow battle, and Logi summons his shadow, Valkyrie. Shu and Blue Dragon are pushed back, and Shu becomes a little scared, but Blue Dragon tells him to stay focused. On the other hand, Zola and Lemaire fight in a sword battle with their shadows. Jiro and Cynthia continue their own battle. Cynthia becomes enraged and attacks them more quickly after Minotaur refers to her as an old lady, and Jiro agrees. On the other hand, Shu and Blue Dragon struggle against Logi and his shadow, Valkyrie. Maro's Saber Tiger and Gilliam's Euphoria fight with super speed, and Kluke finds it nearly impossible to follow them with her eyes. Schneider and his shadow, Isabel, launch a barrage of arrows at the wandering Bouqet, and she avoids the first strike by chance. With each fire, her clothes get torn apart to the point where she gets naked. However, taking advantage of her nakedness, she uses her shadow ability to become invisible and disappear in front of the enemy. Zola uses her shadow ability, Hornet Piece, and defeats Lemaire. Cynthia gets even more enraged after being continuously called an old lady, and her attacks become even more fierce. Shu somehow manages to get toe-to-toe with Logi and Isabel. Zola arrives at the battle location and escapes with Shu. Logi calls off the operation. In his battle with General Logi, Shu discovers Blue Dragon's new power and is able to cause some damage. However, he and his friends still remain powerless against the enemy. Zula arrives at the location and blasts the ground with Killer Bat, which causes smoke to erupt. Taking advantage of the distraction and dust, Zola grabs Shu and flees. The gang gets separated from each other, and each of them follows a different route. Shu reaches an abandoned town and looks for some water, but is unable to find any. Suddenly, Sergeant Dragnov arrives alone on his hoverbike and offers Shu some water. He does not know that the man standing before him is from the Gran Kingdom. He tells Shu that they should look for some water, and Shu decides to get on his bike. He takes him to an abandoned palace where rich people used to live. Meanwhile, Kluke and Maro wander together, and Bouqet gets united with Jiro. Zula is meditating beside a river when an artificial machine attacks her. She, however, easily bests it and advances forward. While talking with Dragnov, Shu gets to know that he is from the Gran Kingdom and the commander of the artificial shadow users. Though they don't start fighting immediately, they will have to eventually. Ultimately, Dragnov leaves and Shu moves forward. On the other hand, Zula is surrounded by artificial shadow users when Maro arrives to assist her in combat. Eventually, Bouqet, Jiro, and Shu also arrive at the location of the battle. Similarly, Dragnov appears and summons his artificial shadow, Berserker. Shu and Dragnov fight fiercely while Schneider aims his arrow towards the young boy. However, the one he wanted to pierce was Dragnov. He shoots his arrow and kills Dragnov intentionally to strengthen the command of Logi in the military. Shu cries for Dragnov and the squad proceeds towards Za City. The end, for now.